think the most notable thing about the shops changing is that the space has changed. There's going to be fewer people allowed in a shop at the same time, which is going to help with the social distancing. There's obviously going to be queuing outside as an impact on that. There's going to be sanitising stations. Majority of the till points will have PPE of some description, whether that's the large plastic screens or not, that will be up. Standing 2 metres apart is probably the biggest message from the government. And so whether that's at the till point and waiting to go and pay, or whether that's in store, there's lots of signage around you showing you how far you need to be away from each other. So they're probably the biggest changes that I noticed when I went into the store. And it is slightly overwhelming when you see it, because we're so not used to seeing that, especially in a shop that we feel that we know, we go to a lot. It can feel slightly bizarre. But I do think that we'll get used to it very, very quickly. And then there's some other key messages that are coming through from the government as well. Face coverings being one of them. If you're in a large store, they're saying if you can keep 2 metres away from people, then you don't necessarily have to use your face coverings. But then when you're going into parts of the store that are slightly more congested, so the till points, for instance, then it is recommended that you do use your face covering. So they're asking us to take those with us as well. Changing rooms are going to be probably closed in most stores so they can limit the spread of the virus, which means then obviously purchasing product, not being able to try it on, that's obviously going to be a massive change as well. They are asking us also to sanitise our hands. And so there will be sanitising units, I think, in a lot of the stores. But also if you've got your own tube or your own bottle of it in your bag or your pocket, it's probably quite good to have. And then touching product as well. They're asking us not to avoid touching product if we're not going to purchase it. Now, that obviously doesn't mean that you can't reach for something in your size or reach for a different colour. You can do all of that stuff, but just not to go around and manhandle all of the product in the store.
So how do you think this is going to affect someone's shopping experience, not being able to try and close, to browse? This could have a really big impact.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it could have a big impact. But I do think that we have, in the last 3 months, I've seen such a massive change in all of us, and that's myself included. I'm way more patient when I go food shopping now. I expect to queue. I expect to stand 2 metres apart. I expect to know exactly what I'm looking for before I go in, to limit the amount of time that I'm in that shop. So I think that we will adjust very, very quickly. We've proven that we can adjust, and we've proven that we can stick to the rules and stick to the restrictions. The main agenda for all of us is to get through this as safely and as quickly as we possibly can. So I think because of that, we will stick to the guidelines.
I mean, one of the big worries is how the high street has been impacted in all of this. I mean, let's be honest, even prior to the coronavirus pandemic hitting, some high streets were in real trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like the high street and, retail in general, which obviously constitutes to so much money of the economy every single year, has been hit like so many other industries. And so it is going to be a case of, of just working our hardest to try and get out of this situation. I think that, the focus is at the moment is getting the shops open. How do we do that safely and making sure that the customer's well-being is the priority?
So how do you think the high street can change shoppers' habits? Bearing in mind, more people have been turning online. How do we get people off online and get them into the shops?
I do think that actually just the whole idea of being able to go out and get it back into the shops again, I think we kind of want that as a way of feeling part of the community. I know that I do. I think that, the whole idea of being able to go somewhere at the moment feels like a real luxury. So I think that will probably send people back into the shops. So I think there's lots of different reasons why the shops are probably going to be quite busy, I think, over the next month. I do predict that. What happens after that, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. At the moment, we're just having to take this day by day to see what happens and react accordingly as well.
So what then would be your advice to people shopping on the high street? Because way back when I was young and carefree, a long time ago, I had a system of shopping. I knew when the shops would be empty. I would go down Oxford Street and I would start according to opening times. What can people do for the best way for them to get the best experience while shopping?
Okay, so I've kind of written a bit of a guide inside my head, and if anyone's interested, this is what I think that we should do. Shopping prep is so important. So knowing what you're going to go and buy and what you're shopping for is really important because browsing is kind of discouraged at the moment. So that's the first thing. The second thing is know your budget before you go shopping. Know exactly how much you've got to spend because what you want to do is you want to make this as much of a smooth experience as possible. And so that'll be the second thing. The third thing is take a brolly, take an umbrella. We can't trust our weather. You probably are going to be standing outside of shops. And so all of this prep happens at home really before you even get shopping. When you've decided on what you want, you give yourself a map of the shops that you're going to. Try and avoid the busiest times if you possibly can, because of course, the biggest key message at the moment for not spreading the virus is the limiting the 2 meters, not being within 2 meters of someone's space. And so knowing which shops you're going to go to is really important. And then when you get into the shops as well, just stick to the guidelines, stick to the restrictions, and you're doing it safely. Everybody else is doing it safely. This has come all from the medics, all from those really, really clever people that are advising us on our safety. If we all follow those rules, then it will be a safe experience.